serial killers are some of the most deranged creatures on Earth, is it possible for some serial killers to be more deranged than others? As it turns out, it sure is possible, and the murderers on this list prove it. Sexual assault, robbery, cannibalism, and of course, murder. The following 10 men are the most deranged serial killers of all time. Before we go deep into the video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more entertaining videos. Number 10, Ted Bundy. You don't have to be an American or have been around in the 1970s to know the name Ted Bundy. Bundy is easily one of the most deranged serial killers, not to mention kidnappers, rapists, burglars, and necrophiles of all time. His sick modus operandi included kidnapping his female victims, raping them, and then dismembering them. He often kept their heads as souvenirs. Before he was executed in 1989, Bundy admitted to kidnapping and murdering 30 women, though this number is almost certainly much higher. Number 9, Andrei Chikatilo. Between 1978 and 1990, the Russian serial killer Andrei Chikatilo sexually abused, murdered, and mutilated more than 50 young women and children. One of the youngest was 9 years old. The deranged Chikatilo killed his victims by stabbing and slashing them with a knife. Chikatilo later admitted that he was only able to achieve orgasm by stabbing women, a fact which made it difficult for him to resist his strong urges to kill. Chikatilo was nicknamed the Butcher of Rostov, the Red Ripper, and the Rostov Ripper. Though he confessed to a total of 56 brutal murders, he was tried for 53, sentenced to death, and executed by firing squad in 1994. Number 8, Jeffrey Dahmer. No list of the most deranged serial killers would be complete without Jeffrey Dahmer. Dahmer, known as the Milwaukee Cannibal, was ultimately convicted of murdering 17 young men over 14 years. But Dahmer didn't just murder them, he also raped, dismembered, and sometimes even ate his victims. During his trial, Dahmer admitted to drilling a hole into his victims' head in an attempt to turn them into mindless sex slaves. Although Dahmer certainly would have been executed for his deranged crimes, he was beaten to death in prison in 1994. Number 7, Albert Fish. When a serial killer is dubbed the Brooklyn Vampire, the Moon Maniac, the Werewolf of Ascaria, the Gray Man, and the Boogeyman, it's almost certain he is thoroughly deranged. Fish was tried and found guilty of raping, killing, and cannibalizing 3 children in the early 1900s. However, he claimed that he had murdered more like 100 children and even boasted that he had children in every state. Especially deranged is the fact that Fish sent a letter to the mother of one of his victims, 10-year-old Grace Budd. The letter detailed how he had lured the little girl, strangled her, and then cut her into pieces to eat over 9 days. Number 6, John Wayne Gacy. There's deranged, and then there's the type of deranged that describes the serial killer John Wayne Gacy. He was nicknamed Killer Clown because of his job attending children's parties and charitable events as Pogo the Clown. Gacy was convicted of raping, torturing, and murdering 33 teenage boys over 6 years. He would lure them to his home, kill them via either strangulation or asphyxiation, and bury them on his property. Gacy was executed in May 1994. Number 5, Jack the Ripper. Jack the Ripper may be a name that everyone knows, but no one can be certain of his true identity. Whoever he or she was, Jack the Ripper was deranged. In 1888, Jack terrorized the Whitechapel neighborhood of London by slitting the throats and abdomens of at least 5 prostitutes and leaving them for dead. Sometimes he would even remove the woman's uterus and take it as a sort of prize. It's unlikely Jack the Ripper's true identity will ever be figured out, but Ripperology, the study and analysis of the murderers, has certainly inspired quite a few what-if novels and films. Number 4, Joachim Kroll. German serial killer Joachim Kroll murdered at least 14 people, including young children, between 1955 and 1976. After strangling his victims with his bare hands, Kroll would have sex with their corpses, then cut them up in pieces to eat. Interestingly, Kroll was finally caught after a neighbor complained about a backup in the plumbing. The pipes were clogged with human guts. When Kroll was arrested, he was in the process of simmering body parts taken from his most recent victim, a 4-year-old named Marion Ketter. Number 3. Pedro Lopez. Pedro Lopez's deranged killing spree is terrifying enough, but perhaps even more terrifying is the fact that Lopez's current whereabouts are unknown. The Colombian claims to have raped and killed more than 300 women across Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru. At least 100 of these were tribal women. In 1980, the monster of the Andes was arrested and led police to the graves of 53 victims between the ages of 9 and 12. Lopez was found guilty of murdering 110 girls in Ecuador. He also confessed to an additional 240 murders in Peru and Colombia and was declared insane. Incredibly, though, Lopez was released in 1998 for good behavior, and while there are plenty of rumors, no one can confirm exactly where he is today. Number 2. Giles de Rice. Giles de Rice was a wealthy knight and lord, a leader in the French army, and a companion in arms to Joan of Arc. He was also a deranged serial killer. Between 1432 and 1433, Giles reportedly sodomized and then murdered or ordered the murder of at least 40 children. Many naked bodies of young boys were found at his estate in 1437. A 1971 biography of de Rice describes the way the knight lured the boys to their deaths. He outfitted them in fancy clothing, provided them with a large meal and lots of wine. Finally, he confronted each boy with the true nature of his situation. Number 1. Richard Ramirez. For more than a year during the 1980s, Richard Ramirez terrorized neighborhoods throughout Los Angeles. Nicknamed Night Stalker, Ramirez would break into homes and brutally murder his victims, sometimes raping them first. His victims ranged from the early 20s to a 79-year-old woman. His weapons of choice included handguns, knives, a tire iron, a machete, and even a hammer. Ramirez never expressed any remorse for his crimes. He was sentenced to death, but died of lymphoma before he could be executed. Thanks for watching our video, and don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more upcoming videos. See you guys.